Welcome back, guys. I'm so excited to do this third one. This is arguably probably the worst stretch of Survivor seasons in history. Although we do have some gems, there are some very, 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 very deep, deep valleys in this compilation of seasons. So, again, uh, 95% of you are not subscribed to the channel who are watching this. So, if you guys can go hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Moving into this very quickly, we are going to start with Nicaragua. So, really, Nicaragua is the definition of a sophomore slump. It's bad after a really, really good season. So they tried the medallion of power. It did not work. It was very underwhelming. But you know what? I'd rather a twist be underwhelming than just be straight up bad. Um, and for that reason, Nicaragua is not a D tier. It's actually bottom of C. Notice that I do not have a lot of seasons in D tier because I think that it takes a lot for a Survivor season, the best show on television, to be bad, like shit out, unwatchable. And the only season that I know of, to be that is Thailand. The rest of them are somewhat watchable, you know, in my opinion. I think Nicaragua. I love Marty. I love Brenda, and I think you have. I mean, I think those are two players that are very overrated. I feel like because they played on a bad season, but usually they wouldn't be as acclaimed as they are. But because their competition on that season was so poor, they ended up shining like a lot more, and that's why Brenda came back and Marty should have came back. And yeah, I think the cast overall is awful. I think specifically the LaFour tribe was very unlikable. The double quit just takes the air out of the season. And Nyanka, like the entertainment that Nyanka brings, isn't the entertainment that I want on my screen personally. It's very similar to like what we're going to be talking about coming up with Brendan Hansen, Karen Moen. It's like that's entertainment, but it's not the type of entertainment that I want on Survivor. And moving on, we have Redemption Island. Continuing in this 21 to 24 dark streak of Survivor, and some would argue up until 26, aside from Philippines. But nevertheless, season 22. Um, I'm going to put season 22 as our first D tier. It's going to be above Thailand, but it is going to be our first D tier season um, because of the fact that it is so dominated by Boston Rob. Boston Rob has them in a cult. I mean, I just finished watching a horror movie called Midsummer, and it was all about this crazy cult. And I was seriously, I swear to God, Boston Rob was one of the extras in the in the movie. It was just scary to watch how much he dominated that season. Overall, he just had so much control over everyone to the point where they couldn't even go talk to each other, and that's just so um, it's not very fun to watch as far as like competitive reasons, but it is fun to watch as far as just if you want to see someone dominate a season, this is the season for you. Other than maybe All Stars, but this season's at least a little bit lighter than All Stars. But because it doesn't have the cast caliber as All Stars, as I mentioned earlier, in 2 videos ago when I was talking about All Stars cast, they're very similar. Rob just dominates the season in both All Stars and Redemption Island. But the difference is that in All Stars, there's actually a really good cast. In Redemption Island, it's an awful cast. And for that reason, Redemption Island goes to a D tier. Moving on, we have South Pacific. South Pacific is going to go ahead of Nicaragua. It's going to go ahead of Fiji, but it's going to stay behind Australian Outback. And this is, and the only reason for this is just purely the pagonging. The pre-merge is watchable. It's better than Nicaragua's pre-merge. It's better than not better than Redemption Island. Honestly, Redemption Island's pre-merge is what saves it from being below Thailand. But yeah, Redemption Island's pre-merge is fine. South Pacific's is worse than Redemption Island's pre-merge, but not as bad as Nicaragua, and that's why it stays above Nicaragua. It has like the characters; they're just all on the tribe that you don't really care about, meaning the being the tribe in the majority, with Coach and Brandon and Sophie and all those people and Cochran because he kind of flips to their side anyway. And then with the Savai tribe, you do have Dawn and Cochran and Jim Rice. So the people who get past the merge are great, but the pre-merge is almost as bad as Nicaragua's pre-merge, and the only reason it's above Fiji and Nicaragua is because it does have those names, and Nicaragua only has like 2 or 3 names. Moving on, we have One World. One World's going to be above Thailand. And it's going to be behind Redemption Island, because of the fact that watching Kim's dominant game, in my opinion, is more fun than watching Rob's dominant game because the people in One World are at least better players than Redemption Island. And for that reason, I do think that Kim's win is more dominant than Rob's because of the fact that she was playing with people who are better than the people who played against Rob. Rob. Um, on top of that, she came in and did it her first time. Rob did it his fourth time. So for that reason, I think Kim played a better game. As far as the cast goes, it's not a good cast. Again, this is the last season where we really do get an awful cast. I'm very happy that they took a step back and just looked at how bad their cast was and made some adjustments. I don't even want to talk about this season because it's depressing to talk about like how bad Survivor could have been if they kept on this pace. Back to good seasons. Philippines. I know we've been back in C and D this whole time. We're gonna fly this one all the way up. It's gonna be behind Marquesas, in front of Tocantins. Philippines at this point is in mid A. I think this season is great. I think watching the Matt Singh tribe, just fall apart is awesome. I do wish that the people who got voted out, the first four, I believe Roxy, the blonde girl that like was Malcolm's girlfriend. Who else was it? Russell, and it was who else? Sane. I wish that those four could have done more game wise because they all just kind of like threw away their games by targeting each other instead of targeting Denise and Malcolm. But we ended up with the two most interesting people from that tribe, arguably other than Zane, making it out of the tribe, which is exactly what you want. Um, I think Malcolm, Jeff Kent, and Penner probably make the post merge what it is, but by playing so hard. And to watch Denise go to every single tribal council, it's impressive, honestly. Um, as far as the finale goes, it's a pretty good finale because you do have the two old Matt Singh versus the two the Tandang people. I think watching Lisa is a great arc. Watching Scoopin think he's going to win is hilarious to watch. Again, Scoopin, a pretty good character on this season as well, just like he was in Australian Outback. It's a shame he had to do what he had to go and do what he was going to do because I'd take him as a character over like a Haley or a Sierra on Game Changers. What's it called? But yeah, so I think overall the season just has a good cast. Um, I'd say it has pretty good production as far as editing, as far as twists, idols and stuff like that, and it has like pretty good tribal councils. I a special shout out to Jeff Kent. He already has $66 million, but Obama's going to take half of the $1 million anyway, but he still wants to win. Love that quote. Yeah. So moving on to Caramon. Caramon, fans versus favorites, is going to go back. And like a lot of people had it in C and D. Personally, I find Caramoan to be not that bad. I'd say it's behind Guatemala, but I'd say is it behind Vanuatu? It's probably behind Vanuatu. So but it's basically just like it's a awful pre-merge. It's just so boring to watch. But the post-merge is very exciting, and honestly, I think like new school starts for me when the Caramoan merge starts, because that's really when you like see these tribals where people are getting up. The three amigos tribal, the Andrea blind side, the Brenda blind side. The finale is fun because everyone's rooting for Cochran. Can you win? Can you win? Can you win? Stuff like that. It's very, very fun to watch the post merge, but the pre merge is such a slog. And like there are some people like Matt Bischoff and Shamar, and people like that who you would have wished gotten farther because they seem like promising characters. Moving on, Blood versus Water. Blood versus Water for me is in front of Caramoan. It's probably in front of Vanuatu, but it's not in front of Guatemala. Blood versus Water is a case of it's just for me. It's such an average season. I feel like it's in the perfect spot for me because it's just such an average season. It's for me. It's like there are really good characters what like it does great is it has like your A, your B, and your C characters. It has your A characters, Tyson, Sierra. It has your B characters, Caleb and Hayden. And then it has your C characters, Katie and Katie and Aris and people like that, like and but like the start of the merge is pretty boring because it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. Aris is going to get blindsided, B is going to get blindsided, Katie and Tina are going to get blindsided, and then the game plays out. I think that honestly the most entertaining episode from the entire season is the finale because watching Monica like have to maneuver her way around and get to the end. And it's very emotional at the end. I feel like that was the most connected I was to my TV screen throughout this entire season was the finale. Moving on. Kagiyan, best season. That's it. It's the best. You have the best pre-merge aside from Heroes versus Villains. You have the best post-merge ever. You have great A characters in Tony, Cass, and Spencer. You have three characters who could probably carry seasons on their own, especially Tony. I think if Tony's not here, this season drops to the bottom of the S tier, but still probably at either bottom S tier or top A tier. But with Tony, Cass, and Spencer, three people who are top notch A characters, they're all on the same season and they all get to Final Four. That works perfectly. You have all of the people who you don't care about, or not don't care about, but the people who are less interesting go out pre-merge. The people who go out pre-merge go out in a blaze. Shatia and the Miami Marlins owner and Garrett, and they all go out either looking dumb or looking funny. It's a like entertaining way to go out. Honestly, the most boring episode is probably the Bryce episode, and if Bryce is the most boring person to go out, that says something about your season. What's it called? There's really no like I wish this would have happened. The boot order is perfect. Tony winning is perfect. Wu taking him to the end, perfect. You have your fan favorite Wu. You have your mafioso and Tony. You have your just straight up a villain in Cass. Your hero in Spencer, like underdog hero. You have all the roles are filled with this season perfectly, and it just shows you the perfect season of Modern Survivor. It really is perfect. The only thing I can knock on it is having the super idol. But you know what? Tony didn't even have to use it because he was so good. Moving on. All right. San Juan del Sur. San Juan del Sur is going to go in front of Amazon for me, but it's going to go right here. Yeah, that's where I would rank San Juan del Sur. The pre-merge is like on and off. Like there's some episodes that are really entertaining, and there's like the Kelly Wentworth boot and the Dale Wentworth the Dale boot just back to back really bad episodes. But then there's episodes earlier on like with the John Rocker stuff. The Rocker Blindside entertaining. The premiere entertaining. Val Boot entertaining. But then it dips off towards the end. Like the late premiere is pretty unentertaining. And then you have the merge. It's like the whole time like you're just yelling at your TV. Ken, John, and Jacqueline. Like is no one going to turn on these two? And they like flip back and forth. That's very entertaining to watch. Jeremy Blindside, fantastic. Baylor Blindside, fantastic. Finale, fantastic. There is some episodes that dip down, like Reed Blindside, and stuff like that. It gets kind of boring, but John Blindside, fantastic. So Natalie wins, which just tops off the season, bringing it up to A tier. Instead of it being in B tier, just off of the fact that in that Natalie won because she really did deserve to win. So yeah, Worlds Apart last season. Worlds Apart's going to be at the top of our D category. Worlds Apart is just simply it's the worst modern season for sure. It's the first and probably the only season from the 30s that's going to end up in the D tier unless maybe I put Goes Down there, because I just cannot stand the season. I like Carolyn. I like the story of Mike winning to the end. I like Rodney a lot. Everybody else just like no. I mean I think Joe's cool because he wins immunities and he's a fan favorite, but like that's what is that 3 people? Is that 3 or 4 people? There's 20 people or what 18 people on this season. If you have 3 people out of 18 that I like, Like if they're each on one tribe, you have a serious problem, with your season. And that's what it was. Is and then you have people. It's just a very dislikable cast overall. And the people who you do like don't play the game, aside from Michael and Carolyn. Two people. Enough said. Soon I will be recording my part 4 for this, which will be the 30s. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It means a lot. And if you hit the bell, then you'll see when I live premiere my new rankings. It means a lot if you guys can do that. And thank you guys. I will see you